nobody blows up their mountains. I have one mountain. Nobody's going to blow that up. The mountains are too revered.
Right.
You can't do that. And, it just goes to show how naive we were. So personally, I didn't know anything about West Virginia. And when I landed in there, that very first year that I came, I took a tour with Larry Gibson, who is the grandfather of the anti-mountaintop removal movement. And he, at that time, said, "You got to help me. I can't do this by myself. They're destroying my beautiful home state."
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I'm talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope you are too. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy, and I have two guests today. And this is a different sort of episode. I try to stay away from politics, but this one might get a little bit political. So I have Babette Hogan and Julie Eisenberg on today. These two ladies they created this important documentary called Running for the Mountains, and it is now live. You said the 28th, October 28th, I think it aired.
October 28th.
And so this is really intense. This is really it's so important to talk about. So I'm so glad that you guys are here. Thank you so much for coming to talk about it.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and so running for the mountains, does somebody want to just like go in and talk about, okay, I'm going to ask why? No, I'm going to start with what. What is running for the mountains about for people that have not heard about it yet, which is everyone but me?
Okay, fine. So running for in the most condensed version, running for the mountains is the story of how politics and big energy have colluded to corrupt politics and have now and from West Virginia, it's been being now exported to the rest of the nation. That's the encapsulated version.
Wow, in one sentence.
Mm.
Impressive. And so there's also like this huge, I mean, this was so new to me. I mean, I have very little information on West Virginia, and I don't know about other people, but like it's sort of almost like a different world. And so this has been opened up to me, and I'm so glad that you guys did this. But there's like this huge contamination issue, like from the coal mines and the coal mines.
Well, and fracking, and actually, there's so many. It comes down to the water, Amy. It comes down to the preciousness of water, and West Virginia is abundant in water, so it is a very attractive place to do business if you need water, and that includes pharmaceuticals, chemicals, coal, and oil and gas. They're all using these immense amounts of potable water, while potable water is getting more and more rare.
Right, for sure. And so Julie, how did you guys how did you guys get hooked up with this documentary? Because you're both in California.
We are. I grew up in Maryland, DC area. So I had been to West Virginia before. Part of Maryland, the western part actually touches West Virginia. It's connected there. And I had been there before, but this was a totally different view of West Virginia than what I'd had as someone who, would go into the state maybe to recreate or camp or go to a friend's cabin or something like that. Babette and I had set out, we had worked together in the past doing video production in various forms, a lot of informational type of pieces, sometimes more news oriented, sometimes more informational about different topics like health.
Mostly health.
Yeah, mostly health. We did. I done environmental pieces in my past. And anyway, we were coming from a time when we'd been raising our kids, and we always like to talk about the news and what was going on in politics. And we were out at dinner together. It was my birthday, and we started talking about doing a film project. And it was sparked by some other individuals who were there. I had a friend who was a Green Party person. He had been the mayor of Santa Monica, and we used to argue a lot about politics with him, or at least I did. And I had an idea that potentially back in 2008, the Green Party might be a factor in the upcoming election. The country seemed so divided. Everything was green. There was a lot of greenwashing going on. And so we started off with the idea that we were going to do a film called Seriously Green. And what does it take to run a political race while really walking the walk of being green? So that's where we started. We started looking at some of the candidates who were green. And then we also, that year in 2008, we went to 3 different political conventions: the Democratic Convention, Republican Convention, and the Green Party Convention. So, and we thought we would make it kind of funny and ironic. But in the course of that, we met a gentleman named Jesse Johnson, and he was trying to be the Green Party presidential candidate, which he did not become, but he was also running for governor of West Virginia. His party was affiliated with the Greens. It's called the Mountain Party of West Virginia, and it's a political party that was created to inform people about the practice of mountaintop removal, which is a form of coal mining where they explode the mountain to get to the coal seam. So Jesse said, hey,
Right.
Yeah, so Jesse said, hey, if you guys want to do a story about politics and the environment, you guys should come to West Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
And then Babette can take it from there.
We were very dubious. Jesse's a good looking guy. We thought this is a ploy. This is a ploy. Okay. Nobody blows up their mountains. I have one mountain. Nobody's going to blow that up. The mountains are too revered.
Right.
You can't do that. And, it just goes to show how naive we were. So personally, I didn't know anything about West Virginia. And when I landed in there, that very first year that I came, I took a tour with Larry Gibson, who is the grandfather of the anti-mountaintop removal movement. And he, at that time, said, you got to help me. I can't do this by myself. They're destroying my beautiful home state. And I could see it.
Right.
And it was so emotional for me that I was convinced that there was a whole lot more there than I had doubt. And so basically I had to address my previous doubts, right? And say, okay, this is not what's going on.
Yeah.
Let's find out what else is going on.
Yeah.
That's how we got to West Virginia. But it took until 2010 before we really stuck with only West Virginia as the story. And that was because Jesse kept running. He was like a racehorse who heard the gate open, and he had to run. Even if it was bad for him, he'd run.
Right.
And it was bad for him. He couldn't get work. He was getting dark listed. So because of his interest in going up against the force.
Mm.
So
Right. And
He
I'm sure at his point he was like, somebody has to, work to protect these people. Like otherwise they're just going to get buried and, it's just going to get worse.
I think what made our film a little bit different is we weren't the only people who were going out and looking at mountaintop removal. And there were other films that were being produced about mountaintop removal, but we wanted to look at what the political connections were. And we were just especially intrigued because Jesse was running because he wanted to become the governor. He had a lot of ideas, but primarily he wanted to elevate that issue. And in West Virginia, the Democratic Party was also invested in keeping coal propped up and doing mountaintop removal, and as the Republican Party was. They were both fairly anti-regulatory, and that's what made West Virginia so problematic, and that's why this other party rose up to spotlight this issue. And then we ended up meeting other people and following some of their campaigns too, and bringing in people like Mike Mannypenny, who served in the state legislature until he got targeted for being too environmentally concerned.
too
You
worried
care
about the
too much.
water.
We don't like you care too much. Oh my gosh, it's so heartbreaking. And now, and it's sort of like it's not just West Virginia now. Like I'm seeing this as like, when you were saying, who's looking out for the people, a lot of people are feeling that right now. And it's so tragic. And West Virginia really, I mean, the mountaintops and the scenery, it's all so beautiful. And the valleys and I just like looking at the film, I was like, it's such this gorgeous place. And then you're driving with whoever's driving on the highway, and you see this huge fire right in front of you. And I'm like, what is happening? Oh my God.
Yeah, over the course of our time there, I think that also impressed us a lot, was watching the health of the people that we're in contact with deteriorate because there was no, or let's jump to fracking, because this isn't just about coal,
Yeah.
even though coal is an issue. This is really about just regulation, period. There was no regulation about how much toxic air could be released in these flares, and the stations were getting placed very close to one another in proximity. So there was just no measurement of what was going on.
Right.
And we saw over the course, like we'd come every, a couple of times a year, maybe, or once a year, intermittently, just to see. And you could see it in their eyes, the kind of redness, or they'd be scratching their hands because there's now they have skin conditions. And that's just from the fracking. In the meantime, you still have all the cancer stuff that's been happening anyway from the way that they weren't regulating the coal manufacturing. So,
right. Well, and so, I mean, I know it's been there's been a phrase, the signs and the protests about, no fracking, that type of thing. But what exactly is fracking, in case there are people that don't know that term?
I can take a stab at it, although I'm not an engineer. But fracking, or the longer term of it, hydrologic fracturing, I believe, or hydrologic fracking, it's a way to get natural gas, which is trapped in layers beneath the earth. In West Virginia, there's a lot of gas in there, and there's a special geologic layer called the Marcellus Shale, but it's rich in natural gas. And the way that they get it out is they force water and a special secret fracking fluid, which breaks up the rocks and the layers to get to the gas, and they put it into the ground. So, and this is problematic in a couple of ways. First, they force the water in, and then they circulate it, and then the gas is forced out. So the water that's used in the process gets tainted, first with the chemicals they put in to help break up the rock, which is a secret formulation that was produced by Halliburton. And because when it was produced, Cheney, who had been higher up at Halliburton, and was the vice president then, allowed that to remain a secret. So people still don't know what's in that fluid, that frac fluid. That taints the water. And then also in the Marcellus shale, there's radioactivity that's released as well. Then that water comes out as waste and fumes, and they would, because
it's also reconcentrated. So they do, like, they'll circulate the water, so then it gets stronger and stronger. So the radon that's being released into the water is also multiplying. Right. Okay, go on.
And so then as they push out the gas, you saw in the film, you'll see a flame where they burn off all these impurities and all these chemicals are released into the air. Then the water's trucked off and put somewhere, often, and we showed in the film, like into an open pit, because West Virginia has had far fewer regulatory requirements. Even sometimes when they were fracking in Pennsylvania or whatever, they would still truck fracking waste there. Sometimes they'd spread it on the road. Sometimes they'd put it on a pit. So there's a lot of issues with fracking. I mean, a lot of these things come down to cost and a faster, easier way to get things extracted and out, but at a cost to public safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Environmental safety, obviously.
Right. And so with the flames, that's like cleaning the natural gas so that it's more pure.
So it's releasing like toluene and carbon dioxide and all sorts of stuff that is not good for anybody.
Everything that's unclean is going into the air and
immediately they're affecting the people that are there.
Oh,
right.
Gosh.
They would go in a lot. I mean, part of the practice would be to go into areas. A lot of the coal mining happened in more coal country, which is more southern West Virginia. But this other, then fracking the natural gas was in another part of West Virginia that was more north and west, I believe. And
all throughout northern West Virginia. Yeah.
Right. And they would go in, and a lot of people in West Virginia don't have a lot of money. It was more poverty in coal country, but still a lot of people were very happy to sell the minerals under their land. If they owned the minerals under their land, they could sell the rights to the gas company to come in. And then if you're living next door to someone,
right,
you
don't have a choice.
You're still impacted by what a fracking operation looks like. It's not like a little pipe in the ground. It's like a huge industrial plant that gets set up on what was your farm.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild.
Yeah.
What is I heard both the term extraction state and mountain state, and I know, and I think it was the same conversation. Like someone, was it Joe Manchin that had said extraction state, and someone was like, no, it's the mountain state.
Right.
They're the same state. It's just it's an extraction because they want what's underneath.
it's how they think about it, right? So we've been in an extraction state for 150 years. Well, prior to that, you weren't. So, like, if you were just doing the math, you could say, well, you really haven't been here that long.
Yeah.
But and it's not that we don't, at this particular juncture in our life, need oil and gas. I'd like it to be different, but we're still dependent upon it. And there's probably better uses than just burning it up in a smokestack. But
maybe.
Right, exactly. It's just that the clutches of that particular industry have coveted West Virginia so much because they can hide so much and they can take advantage of so much. And one thing that we were sort of alluding to, the split estate, where you can sell off the mineral rights of your land. The rules around that are so arcane, it doesn't even address how they're doing it now, whether it's blowing it up with TNT for coal, or whether it's doing these injection wells that then create all other kinds of hazards to the water.
Right. I mean, is one, this is going to sound like a really dumb question, but is one worse than the other? Or are they're both, I mean, equally bad, coal and natural gas? Like the extraction of them. Because I mean, either way, it's like you're blowing stuff up, which neither of them sound really good.
No, I think the orientation, to me anyway, points in the direction that we should learn how to conserve more. And there was a time with Jimmy Carter where that was actually okay to talk about. But after Jimmy Carter, that whole conversation about conserving and thinking about energy was just shut up.
Yeah.
And it was all for oil and gas. And it's missing in our conversation as being a value that is worthy, but it is obviously one of the things that will help save us. Because if we can slow down our own consumption, I know it's mostly big industry, but if we can slow down our consumption, and whether that's just things or actual fuel, then we can move more towards greener energy solutions more easily,
Right.
right? Without polluting more.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now, so you said since Jimmy Carter, the talk of conservation has not really been a normal thing. We've had several presidents since then, so that's like, and on both parties.
Right.
So
Notice how they
they've
don't
been
talk,
like,
they don't bring it up in the debates,
we just
right?
don't talk about that. Yeah.
Right. And those presidential debates are actually, they agree upon the questions before walking in. Joe Manchin was the largest recipient of donated cash in the recent campaigns. He like, what is this? Like over $700,000 here and over $400,000 there for his campaigns of his very small state where you can easily buy an
Right.
election.
Right. It just takes lots of money. It just, to run a campaign where there's not a lot of competition. It's not, I mean, it seems like there's just not, I mean, Manchin's, you were saying that Joe Manchin has been the longest. Oh, I forget how you worded that.
He's had a very he's had one of the most protracted legislative careers in West Virginia, starting with being a state delegate and state senator. Then he became the no, before the governor, he was
Oh,
the
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, then the governor, and then senator.
Right.
He's done all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, he
Yeah,
was
he's had plenty of
third.
opportunities to think of good ideas to help West Virginians think about a different career than coal mining, and yet he hasn't.
Right. I know that I mean, I feel like I've heard, or I've heard sort of rumblings about that type of thing where, people are like, oh, you can just get another job. I mean, people say it all the time, right? But then there's they haven't done anything else, so how they just going to learn how to do computer jobs, that type of thing. But like, is that a conversation that happens? I feel like it's a whole different world in West Virginia. I don't know how things work because it's out from the documentary and from talking to you guys. It's like they there it really sounds like it's a different world. Like we're not living in the same sort of reality is not the right word, but we just have a very different existence, I feel like. And so
I
are there
certainly
other
too here in
jobs?
California, I have a very different experience. Listen, the West Virginians are the most resilient, creative, amongst the most creative people I know.
Yeah.
And they can make, they can solve so many things just with whatever happens to be in their backyard. They'll fix it. And part of that is because they've had to do that, right, to survive.
Right.
So it's part of their character, uh, but they're not given those opportunities. There's every reason in the world why West Virginia should be the most famous furniture making state of the United States
Mm.
because of all the beautiful wood that was there and is there. Instead, they just blow it up. The coal companies just blow it up.
Yeah.
They don't even harvest the timber, you know, right?
No wasting time on that.
No.
Mm. Oh my gosh. And so I remember there was a lady toward the end of the documentary that said we were the second richest state in what, like natural resources.
Mhm.
but they're 49th in
Everything.
in life expect. Oh, the life expectancy is among the worst in the US.
Mhm.
Right. And
Um, but
that is
49th in most things.
yeah, I mean, that is about, there are so many resources there aside from, coal and gas. There's wind, there's beautiful, potentially beautiful nature. There's opportunities for tourism. There's other things that could be invested in,
Mm-hmm.
because it's sort of, well, this is what we've done, and it's simpler, or industry is interested in going for the resources. That's what's presented, but it doesn't mean that there
That's all there is.
not be other businesses and industries that are fostered there.
Right.
And I think that I really do think if there were other businesses and industries presented, people would be not averse to working in those jobs or industries at all.
Right.
I think why there's sometimes a misunderstanding is that people don't always understand that people who come from Appalachia or West Virginia feel tied to coal, feel as though having worked as a miner, it's a point of pride, or if their families worked in that way, it's a heritage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about saying you to do other jobs, you'll have to say that coal is terrible. It's not that at all. It's about presenting other opportunities, but it's also about people from the outside
Right.
thinking twice before they just disparage what people feel is their legacy. So it's a little more complicated. I'm not sure if I'm describing it properly, but
Okay.
there's a sensitivity around coal, because if you say, oh, we got to get rid of coal, then people from there will take it personally, because it's like you're throwing away something that put food on the table for their family.
For
And because they
generations.
have,
Yeah.
right, and they haven't been offered something else. They haven't been allowed to do. I
Right.
mean, if you come to California, everything's about inventing something new. West Virginia doesn't get to do that, but it's rich in resources. It
Yeah.
could be. It's just a matter of the control that has been set by politicians
Mm-hmm.
over industry. And again, it's not just coal. It's not just oil and gas. It is pharmaceutical and chemical. They had for many, many, many years, they were producing the same chemicals that blew up in Bhopal. And it is one of our characters, or one of the people who appear in our movie, Bill DiPaolo, the lawyer, who actually argued effectively to get that particular chemical moved out of the state. So, I mean, it's got to be produced somewhere. Who was producing it? It was Germany that was producing in West Virginia. So
Oh,
like West
wow.
Virginia is kind of like laid as a prostitute to like, whoever wants to come in and do their work
Right.
there. And that's like,
They're not going to complain.
no. And in fact, it was interesting when I first started telling this story to somebody who is very deep in the environmental movement. He said, my God, we should be declaring martial law. We should be sending in our troops because of what's going
go
on. I was
protect
just
it,
like,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're allowing foreign countries to do this to us, who have
Right.
no vested interest. And it's not unlike what we see going on with ICE, where we have people from out of state coming into California, coming into Chicago. They don't have any ties to the community, so they don't care what they do in a
Yeah.
way. They feel like they have anonymity and can get away with being more brutal. They wouldn't do that in their own state to their own people.
Mm.
I bet you none of these people are doing that in their own states and cities.
And a lot of that brings up another point, that a lot of the which people that we talked to in our film expressed a lot, is they say we need this fuel, this gas, this oil, this coal. We need it all for energy independence, but a lot of times it's more for profit and for export. And that's what in the end, we talked a lot about pipelines.
Mm-hmm.
And Mountain Valley Pipeline, or pipelines for natural gas. Well, that's going to a port, on the coast and exporting that. So it's not necessarily all about we need to be strong and have our energy here.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right. And I know that I have this let's see. So watching the documentary, is it Jesse? It's Jesse Johnson? Is that his name?
Yes.
Okay. And he was saying in the documentary that he has solar on his property. Was that
That
him?
was Paul. That's
That was
Paul.
Paul. Okay, sorry.
Brown.
Um I I assume that he's in the minority
He
there.
is, but there are, and he ended up working for a solar company too. There is solar being implemented, and in fact, at all the fracking sites, they use solar. They use solar for their energy.
Of course they do. That's
So,
amazing. I mean,
right?
especially like in the mountains, like you must have like full sun, so you just take advantage of that. But I mean, my thought on that was like, are people that are utilizing, solar and cleaner energy, are they looked at as being bad guys, or are they like? Because I know there are a lot of people that will look at people who are solar panels like, oh, well, they have lots of money and blah blah blah. Like they think less of us or something like that. But um, is there like a stigma to being a cleaner energy supporter, or is it like
Not that I'm aware of.
is it
but
a
but
financial thing?
if you speak out against like the people who we met who were activists, especially initially when we were down in coal country, the people like a Larry Gibson who would speak out against mountaintop removal or against coal companies coming in and destroying mountains, those people are very much they are targets, and they
Yeah.
have not just verbal threats but physical threats.
Real violence.
Yeah.
Hanging your dog, shooting at your home, running you off the road,
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I saw
threatening.
there was the like protest, the march, and people were yelling at the marchers like they were the bad guy, and that just made me so sad.
Yeah. And yeah, there was a lot more of that than we put in the film. But I think the people from that area felt, like you're going to try to take away our livelihood with all your environmental regulations and your EPA. And then what are we going to do? Which is a valid concern to them. However, that's, not necessary. That was not all that the march was about, stopping mountaintop removal. It was also about unionization.
Right.
And, they could also potentially still mine coal more safely, more safely for the community and have more regulations. However,
Mm.
they just looked at EPA regulators at that time, Obama as the enemy. So, and I'm sure even I would believe that the people who were fractivists or people who were active over fracking or sitting in the pipeline, they also, I'm not sure that it was so much their neighbors that retaliated against them, but they definitely felt the pressure from the industry and the companies. And as well, some of the political figures, especially Mike Moneypenny, who was in the state legislature, he definitely got threats for taking environmental stances. And yeah, so he got threatened, and he also got the other thing is with Charlotte, who was also a state legislator and state senator, she said from early times, if you would go along with coal or back then they would say, honey, you don't have to worry about this at all if you vote with us. And same thing for Mike. They told him, just vote with us and we'll make sure you're fine in all your re-elections. So you really have to be, a bold individual to go
against the money.
industry there, because they're so ingrained
Yeah.
in how the state operates. And,
Right.
and then there's another story that's about the media there, which is why I think we were welcomed there to get the story out, because people didn't feel like their local media could really get the story and put it out where people would know or notice. And the media companies were all run by the people who were making money and in charge.
Well,
Right.
in fact, I'll just add to that point where when I was arrested, as I was being walked away from the car, you can't hear it, But I say, you can't arrest me. I'm with the media. And he says, if you were media, we would have called you.
Right, right. Yeah, that was in the very beginning of the documentary, right?
Yeah, but the line about if you were media, we would have called you. That was not, therefore outside journalists are not welcome, right?
Mhm.
Only the ones who are there who know the rules, who know how to, respect and honor the powers that be.
Right. Oof. Uh, um, wow, that's really intense. My goodness, Babette. I mean, one of the points that really stood out for me, I mean, there were like so many, but one of them was that it was brought up at one point that the Clean Water Act was celebrating 50 years, and then, almost in the same sentence, I'm seeing these people with this like brown, cloudy water. And that's from coal, right? Like cleaning the.
Yes, that's the runoff from, yeah.
Although
And
it may have been though the from that when the woman's holding up the jar of
Mhm.
water. Oh, that was
that was from a chemical spill.
yeah, that was from a chemical spill. A major a tank on a side of placed stupidly on
Right
the
at the river.
right on the riverbank, corroded and leaked, and a chemical that was in it, which was a chemical related to coal processing, leaked and then went into the river right through the capital city, Charleston, and the water uptake was right there,
Right.
and basically the town, the river, then the town's drinking water, toxic water was coming out of their spigots. So
But that just underscores what had been going on in West Virginia, in southern West Virginia all the time.
Right.
That many of the people live on well water. A lot of the well water had become contaminated. So if
Even if it wasn't brown, I'm sure.
right, think about, you're a person on a budget, right? You're in West Virginia, you got to be on a budget. Now you have to buy bottled water, which you don't even have the assurance that that bottled water is anything other than what you actually see, right? You
Right.
don't know. It's
Yeah,
just
it could be coming out
it
of
just
someone's
happens to
tap
be in
down
a
the road.
plastic thing, right? So it's so compromising to people's budgets too. Where, oh, okay, so if you want to take a bath, we're going to have to pour this water. Now, can we be more conservative with water in general? I would say yes. I'm from Marin County. We are a drought, we struggle with droughts, so we are very conscientious about our water. Not all of us, but like it is one of our
It's encouraged. Yeah.
practices. Yeah, exactly. Um, but we can still drink our water. So, in West Virginia, I became afraid of drinking the water if I didn't know that it had gone through some osmosis filter.
Mhm.
I became reluctant to, do much showering,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
there's like, I don't know what is in this water. And in fact, Julie, you can tell this story about Mike Mannypenny and after the spill. Do you want to do that?
oh well,
Was he the one that was like, I just took a bath and then I found.
No, that was Jesse,
Jesse.
Oh,
who, by the way, had died last year of an
April.
very uncommon cancer. And we don't know how he got it. I mean, we don't know. We can't presume, but we also
Right.
don't know how.
Yeah, he drank a full glass of water, was in a tub of water when he heard that the water was toxic and nobody should be using the water for anything. Yeah, Mike was in the legislature that day and he went out, I think after work, and saw it. They had all smelled licorice. It smelled like licorice, that chemical, and it was in the river and everybody started smelling it. But he said, people are just so used to
weird smells.
smelling this or that, off gassing, they didn't think about it. And then they saw, he's sitting having a drink, like, uh-oh, what's happening? And then
then
the
he
water,
went to his hotel and he took
Right.
a hot shower, right?
he,
Go ahead.
I think what happened, he said, so they couldn't use the water at all. They weren't allowed to use it. And then they had this thing where they had to flush the chemical out of the pipes. And he had a radiator. He was staying because he lived in a different district, so he had a hotel room for when the legislature was in session, and it had steam, the radiator, and that's how he got a lung
His
infection
lung, yeah.
Yeah.
from breathing
You're
that.
breathing in that.
It still affects him.
Yeah.
We don't know the long-term effects of the chemicals that were released.
And so this is like it even matters. Fracking chemicals or the chemicals for coal cleaning?
It was associated with cleaning coal, these particular chemicals.
Man. And just the stories of I'm so stuck on coal mining because the pictures, I don't want to say haunt me, but just the pictures that I saw in the documentary and that we've, seen over time, just and the story about who was it Paul's father who was a child throwing the thing to stop the barrels? Is that
Father, yeah. And Paul's dad did indeed have black lung and passed as well.
And never got his pension, and never got the pension for that. Still hasn't received the money for that.
wow.
Though Manchin will say he did do it. He did it. He got it for them. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, who's got it? Yeah, but so you guys listening, Paul, he was one of the people that was in the documentary. His dad, when he was 10 years old, like he was working in the coal mines.
His grandfather.
His grandfather. I'm sorry. So he was working in the coal mines as a child.
His dad also was a mine inspector and was a miner as well, but his dad really was in, like child laborer. His grandfather. His dad was not, but also went into coal mining. Yeah.
So his job was to stop the wheelbarrows or the barrels from like flying down the hill, and so they had to put something to stop.
It was to save the mules. They would sacrifice a child. Get good at it, and it's not a problem.
The better you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a much darker story in there too, which maybe we'll have you interview somebody else if you want to do it, but it's about Esau, which is a type of kind of a payment due from miner families. If they had become disabled and the miner couldn't go and work, you would either send in your kid or your wife would have to pay in some way. Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't know if my heart can take that. But yeah, so I mean, and mountaintop removal mining I had not heard of until I saw this. I was that the same for you as well? Like that
we didn't hear about it until Jesse told us about it. I hadn't even thought, but now of course you can see it. Strip mining is happening, of course, internationally it's happening, and it's damaging many communities, not just West Virginia. But West Virginia is it's a state in our country. So God damn it, we got to protect our own at least.
Right.
At least. If not, then it's indicative of just how far these interests will go.
Right.
They're not going to stop in West Virginia if they don't have to. And given our consumption levels, given our population growth, those demands are not going to lighten. So more and more communities are going to feel these kinds of pressures.
Right.
So isn't it better to know about it ahead of time so that you can get organized and fight for home rule? And
yeah. So is West Virginia, do you know if West Virginia is chosen for these things because there's less government? Is there less governance, I guess is the word, or does it have more it's the second richest in natural resources.
So there's a couple of things. One, there's the split estate, which isn't active in all states. So the split estate allows you to sell out your minerals, but keep the land, which sounds good. If, all you're doing is going underground and taking out coal, there's no harm to your farmland. But that's not what's going on now, right? So
wow.
That's a huge part of the element. The same thing is true with the fracking. Right. Nobody understood. They had, gas extraction and it was little wells and it wasn't too bad and blah, blah, blah. Well, these sites that they put up are highly toxic and then they dominate the space. And a very common sort of practice is to put a plant on one end of a person's property and put a plant on the other end of a valley. And then the people that are in the middle are,
Locked in.
yeah.
But we did, observe, for instance, there are other states. North Dakota has a lot of fracking going on, and parts of Colorado have a lot. And Colorado is another state with mining state again, so it's a split estate state. So fracking does occur there as well. I think what's a difference there is, Colorado generally, I think people have a little better access to communication, a little more education, a little more activism, a more open press. It's a state where there's a lot of, very much so a recreational state with a lot of people who really are invested in preserving the environment. But there's also this mining and extraction.
I didn't know that they did mining in Colorado still.
Well, there a lot. I don't know that they still are fracking. And I think Colorado historically, had a lot of silver mines and other mines that were more in other parts of the state. But I don't, and I know there's the Colorado School of Mines, so I assume there's still.
Oh my gosh!
But it is a big state for fracking, and
they were trying to get setbacks. They were trying to get setbacks.
Right.
Because they were like building like 100 yards from schools, from elementary schools.
So struggles still go on there too, as well, in terms of trying to get laws in certain communities. We did go do interviews. It's just the story was so big and we had to keep it to,
Of course,
under an hour. But we did explore and do some interviews there where there were some communities that had banned fracking, and it was a real back and forth.
It's like you're I don't think the right word is punished, but like if you fight back, like you don't really have a chance. Like you don't really have a fight because there's so much on the other side. And that was kind of where I was what I was trying to get at with the reason why West Virginia is such an issue right now, or I mean has been for so long, but it's lopsided in activism, I guess.
There's also the topography, which makes everything difficult. So the topography of West Virginia is very roughly.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people are isolated, and it's difficult for them. It's costly for them to drive a car in and out of their places. It takes 2 hours to get anywhere, and yet it's relatively small on the map, right?
Right.
So they struggle with that. And it's also easy to hide stuff in all those hollers. It's easy to dump.
Right.
Because it's hidden.
Right.
It would be more difficult to do it in Iowa or Kansas.
Okay.
Or even in parts of California, even though we have hills, it's just not quite as difficult a topography.
Right. Okay. Let's see. I mean, I guess I just brought that up. So one of my questions was like, how is the divide with clean energy and, coal fracking, that type of thing? Like, how is that so huge, that divide? Like, it feels, I mean, this is why I feel like it's just this like whole separate world, because I would be like, myself or, so many people that I know would be like, stop, like, it's not worth the money, like, to us, but like, I don't know how to put it into words.
I think there's been a lot of money put from people who are profiting into media and PR and really turned the subject of energy into a key pillar of culture wars.
Okay.
Because, and they're obviously getting what they get. They're getting a profit, but if they can make environmentalism, or going to clean energy seem like bad or stupid or just hippy dippy,
The waste, yeah.
or a waste, or it's a pie in the sky, it'll never happen. I mean, you can see how, even though in West Virginia, we could say like it crossed party lines. Democrats were invested in coal and that, as well as Republicans. In other places, in say a party platform of a Democratic Party platform versus, well, last time Republicans didn't have a party platform, but in the past they had, and in their talking points, it's about energy and independence, and it's patriotic to have your energy and use it, and we won't be beholden. In Democratic platform, or at least in the last administration, it was more about trying to, we need a cleaner environment. We need there's all these weather events. These are very costly. It's a security issue. It's, and we can make money also by investing in clean energy, but it just comes down to a big culture war divide, talking points for news, people invested and hating each other over it. And it's,
I mean, I think that's what I was getting at. I wasn't using the right words, and you have so much more experience in it now. Having spent so much time there.
It's a constant learning curve, to be honest. Things, along the way,
Shoot.
felt like we were playing catch up with what's going on too.
Yeah.
There's more to learn.
Wow. And so let's see, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I really wanted to touch on, but is there something that I didn't ask a lot of questions other than like, what was this about? Because there's like, it's so you guys, if you are interested in seeing this documentary, and I really, really encourage it, it's hard to watch, but it's also really important. It is now available on Prime. It's on Prime and Canopy with a K. So please check that out. But is there anything else that you guys want to, Julie, Babette, to bring up? Like my words are leaving me, but
well, part of what we wanted to affect in the movie was getting people to redefine what patriotism is, so that it includes our environment, so it includes the things that we can gift to generations to come, rather than just taking and extracting all the times. Like really think about how we can defend ourselves in ways that I think and Julie thinks are worthwhile. So it became a passionate desire to make this, at least this one message, come through.
yeah. Well, after the experience that you've had doing this, I'm sure that
We wanted people also to understand a lot of things, that we loved West Virginia. It was a different world for us, but the people there, the people we met, were wonderful, hospitable, caring, bright, creative, and there's so much that could be there. And yeah, we wanted people to have a care and not just toss West Virginia off, because it's been dismissed so often historically, with just, oh, it's just hillbillies, or oh, they all do, they don't care. We wanted to bring a more human element to this environmental and political story. And we also thought of, to use a mining term, like West Virginia was the canary in the coal mine, in terms of when you don't have regulations, environmental regulations, or people protecting your state or your resources, we're in trouble, that we have a lot to protect. And we didn't think this cautionary tale would come to pass as quickly as it did, but with national politics, not even being able in schools supposedly to say trigger words like climate change, or and having people who worked in industry and are very much about extraction running, the EPA or Department of Interior selling off public lands, that this is something that people, as troubling as it can be, and these already very stressful times, people need to be aware that this is what's going on, and what we regard it as a layer of protection against if your state is not really complying. We had these federal laws and regulations, and now those are being chipped away. I mean, more drilling, more, pipelines, more land going. We're not trying to be grim about it, but we're hoping to inspire people like, you can have some fight in you. This is still our government. We still have a voice, and these things are important.
Right. Oh gosh, that's such a powerful message, Julie. Thank you. Oh gosh, yes. And I think I was telling you guys on the phone, like I have that sort of same feeling where I am in Southern Virginia, that these folks are sort of I mean, I think the word that you used was dismissed, or looked down upon as like hillbilly or something like that, because they're Appalachia, and it's not the case. They just haven't been given the chance. Like they don't have a lot of
Opportunity.
they don't have a lot of opportunities. Yeah, absolutely. And so
that's
I feel
intentional.
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a beautiful, I mean, this is your first independent documentary together. And I am so impressed. And I'm so grateful that I got to see this, and to talk with you guys. I so appreciate that. And I think that the work that you're doing is so important, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you. And I think something else about it is we are a female or women team, women editor, Patsy Northcutt. I mean, we have other people who helped us tons in the film, but it's nice to be interviewed also by a woman who, cares about these issues and is in media and trying to spread the message about something you're passionate about too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Babette Hogan, Julie Eisenberg, thank you so much for your time today. Everybody running for the mountains, please check it out. Prime, Canopy, and hopefully in other places soon.
We hope so too. We'll see.
Yeah. And we'll look forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you
so much. Thanks, Amy.
I just want to take a second to thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I love having these conversations with folks. I also want to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her music genius, for Becca Coffron and her award-winning artwork. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that so much. Please check out the show notes for any links and extra information. And if you would like to follow my guest and find out more about them, I'm sure they would love the follow. And if you don't mind leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening, and just help to get this podcast in front of new eyes, that would be amazing. I would really love that. And feel free to reach out to me on the socials and let me know what you're thinking. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know that. I would love to have a conversation with you about sustainability. All right. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the hate with sweet forgiveness. Wages of finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder